Breyer's Music Showcase is brought to you by the people over at Patreon. Pledge today and get access to exclusive perks. Link in the description. In the last video, I talked about my 10 worst album discoveries of 2025. And as per tradition, I am following that up with the top 50 best album discoveries of 2025. Now, for those who are new to this channel, one thing you must know is that this does not mean top 50 albums that came out in 2025. I am talking about albums that I heard for the first time this year. So release date is irrelevant. Like every year, this is probably going to be a long video. But in some way, I do look forward to this because it's a nice way for me to reflect and look back on some of the great discoveries I made this year. And for those who have heard these albums already, getting a chance to hear me kind of talk highly on these might warm your heart this time of year. So if you have looked forward for this video, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we're not going to waste any time. Let's jump right into it. We are kicking off this list with Pat Travers Band, and this is their album, Crash and Burn. This came out in 1980, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it says so in the copyright. But Pat Travers Band is a group I've heard of. Of course, I've heard the name Pat Travers. I know he's a pretty well-respected guitar player. And I was very fortunate to find one album from his this year. And this is probably a good intro, I would say, because it's just a good old-fashioned early 80s rock album. The guitar playing is great, and even the vocals are pretty solid. And it's just some good old-fashioned rock. There's nothing too, incredible or anything, but I just love the vibe. The production sounds pretty cool, and the whole rest of the band is great. And I think you have, let me just look up the drummer, because I know the drummer is another pretty well-respected person here, if it tells me. So yeah, Tommy Aldridge, that's the drummer, and drumming on here is great as well. The only thing that kind of brings the album down just a little bit is that there are two songs I'm not as crazy about. We have his cover of Is This Love by Bob Marley, and I'm not really a fan of when he goes more reggae. And the other track that I'm not crazy about is that there is an instrumental track, which, again, not my thing, but overall, pretty good album and a good way to start this list. We are moving along to number 49 with Badfinger, Straight Up. It's good that I got a chance to check out some Badfinger this year. They're one of those bands I've been trying to get albums, but I find they're pretty hard to come by, especially in the wild. But lo and behold, I was able to find two this year, and this is the one that made the list. And, Badfinger have a very sad history. I'm not going to get into it because it'll make this video even longer, but I think it kind of adds context to certain things. Of course, this album had some big hits on here with Baby Blue and Day After Day. And I think Money was another pretty notable song, I think. But other notable songs that I really like were Take It All, Name of the Game, Perfection, Sometime. It's just a very strong album. And again, I want to check out more Badfinger, so hopefully in 2026 I'll be able to find more from the band. So again, sad history, but all in all, very good discovery this year for me. King Crimson has been one of the bands I've deep dived this year because I was able to get a hold of all their studio albums that they have as of now. And here is one that made the list. We have their second studio album, In the Wake of Poseidon. Now this album kind of gets, crapped on because to some people it's kind of seen as In the Court of the Crimson King Part 2, mainly because they have a very similar title scheme, In the Court, In the Wake, that whole thing. And the artwork has a somewhat similar idea, only not as iconic maybe, but I do like the colors on the album cover too. And another thing, most people say these songs just aren't as strong as the debut, but for me, if you take that all away, this is a pretty good follow-up. It still has everything you want to hear in King Crimson, especially during this time. I mean, you still have Greg Lake on lead vocals, and his vocals are still really good on here. Only 8 tracks, and there's some instrumental pieces, which is to be expected. But one song I really want to point out is The Devil's Triangle. That's a song where it really takes its time to build up, but once you get to the meat of it, it's worth the wait. So that is a really stellar song right there. And other songs like the title track, Cadence and Cascade is also pretty good too. But yeah, it's another pretty good album from King Crimson. Hopefully I'll one day do a whole ranking video, but we'll see how it goes, because I heard rumors they might be releasing another album. We'll see what that will be. But still, at 48, King Crimson makes my list. Going on to 47, here's one that might surprise people, and that was Camel, and this album is I Can See Your House From Here. Now this is a more later period album for the band. This came out in 79, I think. And it definitely sounds like the band is kind of going in a more, not commercial, but the production is definitely more polished than their previous albums, which I can see some people being a little bit disappointed with. But I think they kind of pulled it off quite well, honestly. I really kind of enjoyed the vibe of this album. And that's the thing about Camel. Camel always knew how to put on a good vibe. And I think you still have that here, especially on a few of these songs. Probably my favorite song is probably the title, well, not the title track, it's Neon Magic. There is no title track on this. I don't know why I thought that, but again, not too much else to say, but again, really nice production. And again, I don't know the consensus when it comes to most Camel fans, but I really dug this quite a bit, and very happy that this came on this list. And now all my metal subscribers are going to be pretty happy that Accept has appeared with Metal Hearts. So, I like Accept quite a bit. They're a really good German metal band, and this is one of their mid-80s albums, and it's kind of more commercial, kind of has a teensy bit of that hair metal like production style, but I think Accept pulled it off extremely well. There's some very good catchy songs on here, but you still got some good heavy riffs, and the vocals by Udo is still really cool. But yeah, only 10 songs, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Probably the big notable song is Midnight Mover, which that's probably my favorite song, honestly. But the whole rest of the album is still worth checking out if you're into this kind of mid-80s heavy metal scene. Definitely worth it to check it out. And the album cover is kind of interesting too. What? I know. Some of you might think I have a sickness right now. There has been a fever going on at the moment, so maybe I caught something. How did a rap album appear in this list? Well, it did. Of course, we're talking about NWA, Straight Outta Compton. So this year I was kind of dabbling a little bit into the rap hip-hop genre after so many years of just completely dismissing it and just really being kind of a hater. Again, this year was me trying to strip back some of that, not hatred, but prejudice against rap music. And I wanted to start with some of the big names. And of course, this is a very influential album. And after finally sitting down and actually kind of listening it on its own merits, I can definitely see why rap is a big name, or a big genre, I should say. Lyrically, I mean, they can get kind of violent, of course. It's, so I'm not going to go too in depth on that front because I think it's self-explanatory. But man, the beats are really cool. There's a very good aggression on here, which is, it's the same kind of aggression you would find on a metal album. It's just in a different style, and that I kind of respect that because of it. So yeah, I mean, it's 13 songs. Of course, you have some big songs like the title track, and then you have, I don't know if I should say it because I don't know how YouTube likes it when I say, but I'll just say F the Police, But then there's also songs like Express Yourself, Dope Man, Quiet on the Set, and If It Ain't Rough. But I really dug this one. This was pretty good. So hopefully we'll see. Maybe in 2026, maybe we'll check out some more classic hip hop albums. So if you're a fan of that genre, please let me know any recommendations. I have heard of Dr. Dre, The Chronic. I heard that album already. So anything besides that, let me know. And now we go to some Gary Wright with The Dreamweaver. So this is a really nice album. I love the keyboard playing on here, which makes sense because I believe Gary Wright was a keyboardist. And so you have some nice good synth sounds, keyboard sounds on here, and you have some nice melodies. Of course, it's known for the big hit, which is the Dreamweaver, the title track. And I've heard that song in passing many times, but it's good to actually have the actual full song on CD. Production's great, of course, produced by him as well. Only 9 songs, so it's not too long. And it's just a nice vibe overall with some nice sounding kind of, I don't know what you kind of classify it. Like it's a little bit rock, maybe a little bit of a soft rock, maybe a pop sort of thing. Not sure, but pretty nice album overall.
Peace up, A-Town down. Yeah!
Yeah is right. We got Usher. So yeah, I mean, I know Usher because he was a name I remember hearing when I was young, because he was kind of pretty big when I was growing up. And I decided to check it out because I was very familiar with one of the songs, and that was the kind of the ballad Burn, because I heard it in the Boondocks. And I just always loved that song. I wanted to get the album, and after giving a listen, man, this one was one of those big surprises. Like I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. And it did kind of remind me, I did know another song, and that was Yeah. I remember hearing that quite a bit growing up. And probably another song I want to point out is called, let me see if I can find it, Do It To Me, which has a very strong Prince influence because he is singing in that kind of more higher falsetto sort of range. And I think it sounds great. But Usher, pretty impressive. Who knows? Maybe I'll check out more Usher too, because I do like his sort of R&B soul style. I think he sounds really good, and I think he has a good voice. But yeah, there we go, Usher. Cheap Trick now enters the list with One on One. Another kind of surprise, because I really wasn't expecting to enjoy this album as much as I did. I did buy another Cheap Trick album. I'm already blanking on the name of it, which kind of maybe that tells you my overall thought on the album. But this was a much better album. This came out in '82, and it's just Cheap Trick doing what they're good at. Just simple, just good power pop, some nice rock, and some catchy good hooks on here. Good vocals, guitar playing is really nice. It all just kind of fits all together. So again, this is one where I don't have a ton to say, but it doesn't really need that much explanation. I just kind of really dug the energy and the overall tone of the album. There's really no songs I didn't like. Every song on here was really good. Again, excellent. So yeah, let's keep it moving.
We have looked up on the heroes and they are not wanting.
Of course, I gotta shout out the prog fans out there. We have Vanograph Generator with Pawn Hearts. Now, to a lot of people, this is usually seen as the band's crowning achievement. There's only 3 songs on here, and they're all pretty long. But yeah, to me, this is probably my favorite Vanograph Generator album as of right now. I definitely get why this album has a lot of praise. I think the musicianship is really great. A lot of great switch ups, great kind of compositions overall. And you know, Peter Hamill, his vocals, they're not really my preferred style, but it kind of fits the music that they're going for. And I believe Robert Fripp guests on one of the tracks, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Fripp. I think he appears on the last song, A Plague of Lighthouse Keepers. And definitely an interesting album cover too, which is always something you gotta expect with one of the big prog albums, something eye-catching. But yeah, only 3 songs, like I said, but they don't really miss a beat. They always kept my attention all the way through. So there we go, Pawn Hearts.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long.
Okay, Stevie Wonder has made an appearance, and we have kind of one of his more early albums. It's not like his early albums when he was a kid. Obviously, he's a lot older, but Signed, Sealed, and Delivered, I thought was really good. I know it was before he would go through his classic run. But here he's doing like your usual Motown kind of feel good R&B soul style, and again it just sounds really good. Again, Stevie's vocals just goes without saying. You have some excellent songs like the title track, which is a classic, and I really want to shout out his cover of "We Can Work It Out" by the Beatles. Excellent cover. I think he really does a great job making it his own in a sense. But again, a lot of the songs just sound really good. Just sounds like what you would think he would sound during this period. Again, there was not really a song I disliked whatsoever. It just sounds really nice, really pleasant. So that is number 40. And now we have some Southern rock with Molly Hatchet's Flirtin' with Disaster. I mean, look at that album cover. I mean, that's badass right there. And it strangely does kind of represent the album, because it's just your good old-fashioned barn burner rock. Again, some great guitar work on here, great energy, and sounds really great as well. Again, 10 tracks on here, but you have songs like Whiskey Man, One Man's Pleasure, the title track, Good Rockin', Gunsmoke, Let the Good Times Roll. Not the Cars song, but Molly Hatchet song. Totally different. But yeah, this was a great rock album through and through. So if you like Southern rock and you've not checked out Molly Hatchet, I'd say this is probably the one to check out. Their debut is also pretty good too, but I think top to bottom, I think this is probably their strongest album, and I think it's probably their best selling if I remember. But yeah, highly recommend this one. And now here is the first and potentially only album that was part of the album exchange that I do with some of my friends. I believe this was Scott from Soundlight Studios. This is the album that he recommended, and that is The Killer's Hot Fuzz, a 2000s album, 2004 to be exact. And I really enjoyed this one. I think I can't remember the general consensus, but I think most of us really liked it. I think there was a couple of us that weren't as into it, but I really enjoyed this kind of this has a slightly retro sort of feel. You know, it's early 2000s, but they're definitely taking notes from like 80s pop or something like on that realm. And, you know, it had the big hit, Mr. Brightside, which I love that song. That's a great pop song there. Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, Smile Like You Mean It, Somebody Told Me, Andy, You're a Star. And, you know, the second half, even though it doesn't have like the most immediate sounding songs, I still really enjoyed the vibe of them. The production still sounds really cool. And yeah, I had a good time with this album. So very nice. So again, I think it's the only album that was on the album exchange. Well, there is one other, but I'm excluding my own. But any case, The Killers, Hot Fuzz, really, really good album. Well, Midnight Oil has appeared yet again on here, and here we have Red Sails in the Sunset. Again, really like the album cover. It's basically Sydney, Australia, but if all the water disappeared, kind of has almost like a post-apocalyptic sort of vibe. And again, you know, Midnight Oil, I mean, I've talked about them quite a few times. They're an Australian band, and I really like their style. I think by this point, they still have a little bit of a punkish sort of vibe, but now they're kind of being a bit more nuanced with their sound. I think the production, again, sounds really interesting, lot more slightly more adventurous than some of the previous stuff I've heard, especially early on. You have one song which was actually not sung by the lead singer. I think it was sung by the drummer. I can't remember. I remember reading that in the past, and I thought that was interesting that they didn't have Peter Garrett, the lead singer, sing it. But I think it's the only time they didn't let Peter Garrett sing a song. But still, excellent song, excellent album, I should say. 12 songs, again, not too long. And again, a good rock album through and through. So that is number, let me just double check, we are at number 37. And now we've come to Captain Beyond, and this is their self-titled debut album. Now, I know there's probably some people who have no idea who this band is. Well, if you have watched my Deep Purple video earlier this year, then you would know that Rod Evans, who was Deep Purple's first lead singer, you know, he was fired from the band and he was then replaced with Ian Gillan. But then later on, he would kind of co-found another band, and this was basically the band he would form. And I'm going to be straight up. I think Captain Beyond probably has some of Rod Evans' best vocals he ever recorded. Not to saying that the stuff he did with Deep Purple was bad. I mean, on the contrary, he had some good moments when he was in Deep Purple. But again, not everything worked. Again, you can watch my Deep Purple video to find out. But here, I think Rod really kind of finds his groove in the more heavier sound, heavier rock style. Kind of shows that he is capable of slightly heavier music. Of course, hard rock's not the only thing. There's a little bit of a proggy tendency. I'm not saying this is a prog album by no stretch, but there's just little moments that could demonstrate a little bit of more adventurous sort of sounds. But it is pretty nice. I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. Again, if you're a hard rock fan and you're a Deep Purple fan, especially if you're a fan of the Mark I lineup, I'd say check this out if you want to check out more Rod Evans, which is a shame because he only did 2 albums with this band, and then he would vanish, basically. But other than that, very, very strong. I've come from one obscure rock band, and now we have another one. We have Toad by Toad. I just find it funny. It's just a toad on the cover, which, you know, makes sense. Produced by Martin Birch. So they are a Swiss band. I think when I first bought this, I accidentally said they're Swedish. Swedish and Swiss are completely different, just so you know. But any case, just another really cool hard rock album. Like pretty heavy too. I'd say check out the first song, Cottonwood Hill. Just that song alone will demonstrate just really what a great rock band that they pretty much are. Released in 1971 originally. Again, the guitar work just very big sounding. The vocals pretty solid all the way through. And again, there's only 7 tracks on here. And I definitely want to check out more Toad. I think they just recently came out with some reissues. I don't know if they're still available. I probably should check. But if they are still available, maybe I want to check out the rest of the catalog. I don't know if they released that many, so hopefully it's not too bad. But man, Toad, check them out, especially if you're a hard rock fan. I'm not sure if you would count these guys as obscure, because I think they had a couple like minor hits, but Jellyfish is definitely one of those bands that, again, you might have heard a couple songs, but you probably don't know the name of them. But again, they are like a early 90s kind of power pop rock band, if you will. I just want to quickly demonstrate the album cover because it looks kind of weird at first, but then you pull it, you get the full artwork right there. It's hard to see, but hopefully you get an idea. So that's kind of cool. And I bought this, I think it was one of the first CDs I bought this year. and I really dug it. There's a little bit of a retro thing because there's definitely some Beatles influence. So if you love the Beatles, then maybe you want to check out this band because they definitely take notes from them. Kind of a They have also take a little bit of a psychedelic pop sort of thing as well. But if I were to recommend songs to kind of get you somewhat familiar with them, I would suggest, let me just find it, Baby Coming Back. I think that was the big single, I think. And then I Want to Stay Home, I think are my two favorite songs on this album. So Jellyfish. And by the way, this album's called Belly Button. Weird title, but whatever.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high.
And now let's head back to Motown. We are going with Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell with United, which is this album right here. This is a 2-in-1 thing, but I'm only going to talk about the yellow orange album there. But yeah, I found this 2-in-1, and of course United had the big hit Ain't No Mountain High Enough, which I adore that song. That's probably one of my favorite 60s songs. Just a great duet with Marvin and Tammy. And I was kind of expecting that the rest of the album wasn't going to be as good as that first song, but man, was I wrong. Like, you have songs like You Got What It Takes, Hold Me, Oh My Darling, Give a Little Love, and Two Can Have a Party. Like, just some really good, catchy kind of R&B style. And again, Marvin and Tammy just sound extremely great together. Like, it's a shame Tammy died very early. I think she had cancer, and I think it really affected Marvin pretty much for the rest of his life. But man, the stuff they did put together was really special. I really would say you gotta check out United. But if you want my quick thoughts on You're All I Need, which is the purple album cover, it's fine. Okay, we are going to Singapore for this next one. We have Sobs, and this album is called Air Guitar. Now, again, I probably would not be surprised if you already forgot I did buy this. It was actually one of the CDs I bought when I did that video for Bandcamp, and this was one of the ones I picked out. Mainly because I just kind of went for the indie rock, and I just went through a bunch of different artists, and I kind of sampled some. And from what I heard from the samples for this album, I was kind of interested. And so yeah, I bought it, and man, I really dug this album. It's a very short album. It's really not that long. I think it's just a little over a half hour. But I really like them. It's basically a trio. You have two guys and one female singer. I think they put together some really good music here. There's some great keyboard playing on this, which provides some great hooks, some great melodies. You have a little bit of tiny bit of guitar, good drum and bass and all that. But yeah, really nice, I guess you can say a power trio. Probably my favorite song is probably, I guess, Cool, which is a Gwen Stefani cover, which funny enough, I just learned that right now because I didn't notice the Gwen Stefani parentheses underneath Cool. But that's a great song. That has a great keyboard hook. But the rest of the album is definitely worth exploring. So if you like that indie rock scene, check this band out. I think you might be surprised. Pleasantly, I would say. Okay, we have The Darkness, Permission to Land. Now, The Darkness were kind of big for a time. I know here in America, they're kind of labeled a one-hit wonder because of the big hits, I Believe in a Thing Called Love. But I know in the UK, I think they were definitely a lot more, more appreciated than we Americans. I know, we can be dumb sometimes. But besides that, you can definitely hear they have a very strong influence on the glam rock scene of the early 70s, especially Queen. And because of the Queen influence, of course, I had a good time with this, basically. They just have a really fun energy to them. And I know some people might think Justin Hawkins' vocals can be grating sometimes because he's known for that very high register that he does a lot. But to me, I thought it was I had a good time with it. It didn't bother me whatsoever. I thought it kind of fit the tone that they were going for. But there's some other great songs. Like some songs I would recommend is "Growing on Me," "Love Is Only a Feeling," "Given Up," "Friday Night." Like I would say those songs will kind of showcase that they're definitely beyond that one big hit, which I do like as well. But there you go, The Darkness. Definitely want to check out more. And here is some Chicago. We have Chicago 8. Man, I mean, I bought a ton of Chicago last year, I think. Oh, was it this year or last year? I'm already forgetting. See, so many CDs, it's hard to understand when I got certain things. But I think I got a fair bit of Chicago this year. And yeah, here is a really good one. This is, of course, during the Terry Kath years. And some very heavy moments, like songs like Hideaway, really good song. And then you have Any Way You Want, which is great. Harry Truman, really enjoyed that one. Old Days, which is probably the biggest hit on here, which is great. Great horns on that song. Again, if you love Terry Kath Chicago, this is the must listen. This is definitely up there. I really dug the more guitar focus on this. I mean, Terry Kath, of course, is a very underrated guitar player. I know many people have talked highly of him, but most general people probably don't know. But I just want to showcase more of that early Chicago sound, even though I still enjoy the 80s stuff quite a bit. Okay, Steppenwolf has made an appearance here. We have their debut album from 1968. Yeah. Of course, this is kind of one of those like early hard rock albums, but it was pretty good. Of course, you have the big hit Born to Be Wild, which is great. That's a classic song, of course, classic riff, classic, I guess hook, if you will, chorus, if you want to say. But the rest of the album, some really good moments. I mean, Sookie Sookie, kind of probably not the greatest way to open the album because it's very different from the rest. But everything else, just very excellent stuff. Like Desperation is great, The Pusher, which is nice. Yeah, if you like some late 60s rock, definitely check this one out. Definitely worth your time. And here we have a live album. I know, a live album has appeared. But of course it's rainbow, and you're probably wondering, no, this is not the album cover. That's because, shout out to Mickey. I think he sent me this, but it came very damaged, and this was the only thing I had to keep everything together. So, but at least it's all contained in a case, which, by the way, I borrowed it from a Allman Brothers CD collection. But the front is clearly rainbow. So this was live in Munich, 1977. And I have another Rainbow live album, but I will say I think I might prefer this one over the other one. I think it's Rainbow on Stage, which kind of seen as the big live album from them, but I think you have a little bit more variety. You have 9 songs in here, and I think the playing on here was more, kind of kept my attention a lot more. I know there's other Rainbow live albums that I want to get down the road, because I know there's one which has Stargazer, which should be awesome. But this is, of course, it's Rainbow. You have Ronnie James Dio, Richie Blackmore, Cozy Powell on here, and yeah, it's like, of course I gotta like it. So there you go.
Are you ready?
And we have the debut album of Grand Funk Railroad, On Time. Yeah, Grand Funk Railroad, that's another band that I kind of got into a big kick this year. I've had a couple Grand Funk Railroad CDs for quite some time, but this year in particular, I kind of had a very, not brief, but I had a good period where I had a big kick for them, and I wanted to get more of their studio albums, and this is one of them. And I think for a debut album, I think they really hit it off really good. I mean, again, you still got that great power trio with Mark Farner on guitar and vocals. You have Mel Shocker on bass, and again, that bass is just very upfront, which is what I love about Grand Funk Railroad. And then you have Don Brewer on drums, which again, he's doing a great job and providing some vocals too. But yeah, for a first album, it just gets right into it. And of course, there's some kind of lyrically, it's kind of going with the times, you know, Vietnam War is going on, so you got lyrics reflecting that. But, you know, Are You Ready? TNUC, Into the Sun, Heartbreaker, not the Led Zeppelin song, but yeah, just a killer rock album. Again, if you like that 60s rock, again, check this out. There's some great stuff on here. And not the last we'll see Grand Funk Railroad, spoiler alert. Okay, back to the obscure shit. We have Armageddon. And funny enough, this is one I bought really recently. And yeah, it already appeared on the list. But again, they're like a one and done band. But still, I really dug it. Again, they're like a hard rock, progressive rock band. Only 5 songs in total. But again, the playing is just really strong. And I just like the vibe of it. It's just really kind of left a mark, you know? I mean, granted, this could be a result of recency bias, because again, it's still fairly fresh in my mind, so that could be a reason why it's pretty high. But you know, we'll see how it goes moving in the future. But as of now, as of this recording, I think this is a really cool album, and definitely worth seeking out if you can, if you like that proggy hard rock style. You might be surprised here as well. So there you go, Armageddon. Okay, we have reached the halfway point of this list. Hopefully you've enjoyed it so far. I want to take a moment to shout out my Patreon page. If you love what I do here on this channel and you want to support me, head over there. Link to it is in the description. There you'll find some bonus content and you get to participate in various things I have there. And hopefully I'll see you there, especially when we get into 2026. Thank you again. Let's continue on with the list. And now we have Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. Of course, the first of the solo period of Alice Cooper. Of course, Alice Cooper was a band originally, but of course, Vincent Furnier decided to go on his own, but decided to keep the Alice Cooper stage name. And he's still going on to this day. And so yeah, this was the first of this kind of new period of Alice, and was a big hit, of course, kind of pretty much a concept album to an extent. A lot of weird imagery, of course, which is what you expect, but still the playing on here is great. The production from Bob Ezrin is really cool, and just has this very bigger theatrical side, which again fits that whole shock rock the side of Alice Cooper that we know and love. It's just an excellent album. Definitely a good one to start when you're going into his solo catalog. Of course, you have the title track, and then you have Only Women Bleed. Very, very dark song, but still really nice. Devil's Food, The Black Widow. Man, just a really excellent album here. So again, I definitely I need to check out more Alice Cooper. Just in general, you know, because I have a really nice starter collection on Alice Cooper, but definitely the solo stuff I need to give more attention to. So maybe that'll be a goal for next year. And now we have the Sundays with Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic. So they are pretty much a kind of a dream pop, indie rock act. This came out in 1990, and just the vibe of this album is really what really surprised me. I really enjoyed I mean, it's not really a rocking album, I would say, but the vocals from Harriet Wheeler, really nice and sweet sounding, and it just kind of allures you. You're just kind of vibing with it. Good melodies here and there, especially in some nice guitar. The guitars have a very jangle sort of thing, and just the production also makes it very calming. I feel like it's an album, like if you're kind of stressed out, you can kind of put this on and then you kind of calm down after giving it a listen. But every song on here has that vibe, and there's really no bad song on here. It was all just a really nice listen, and I really dug it a lot. I definitely want to check out more from them. I have their last album. I think they have a second album. They don't have a big discography, but hopefully I'll find that second album. But this is a good way to start a band with. Well, Mott the Hoople was yet another one of those bands I really deep dived this year. I have all their studio albums, and of the studio albums I bought, this was pretty much the big winner out of all of them. You have The Hoople, because the last album was just called Mott, so I don't know if that was intentional or not. But this was kind of the last of that classic run of the band, because I think Ian Hunter left the band not long afterward. And then you get 2 more albums with a slightly different lineup, which didn't do as well. But to kind of close that period of the band, this was a good one for Ian Hunter to go out with before he would go solo. Because again, this probably has a lot of the most hooks on here. You know, The Gold Age of Rock and Roll, which is a great opening song. Marionette, Alice, you know, Born Late 58, Roll Away the Stone, which is a great closing song. Again, you have that glam rock sound, but still some good guitar work here. And man, if you want to check out Mott the Hoople, this is definitely one you want to check out. This album, Mott, I think those 2 are probably the big 2 I would recommend if you want to get into the band. But this is my favorites, and possibly my favorite Mott the Hoople album. Who knows, maybe one day I'll do a ranking on this band in the future. Going back to the heavy side of things, we got Nazareth, Razamanaz. Man, another killer heavy album on here. Again, another one of those bands I need to check out more of, because I have 2 others and they were great, but this is really, really strong. Again, the vocals by Dan McCafferty, just absolutely killer. Like, he just really goes in on it. Has a very Brian Johnson sort of vocal style, but still excellent. And the guitar is very big sounding, very heavy, great drumming on here. Again, pretty much most of the songs here I really dug a lot. There was a couple songs that maybe weren't as strong, but besides that, again, Nazareth, excellent, pretty underrated rock bands. And again, I gotta check out more in the future. Well, this is the first appearance from a Japanese act. We have Puffy, or here in America, most commonly known as Puffy Ami Yumi. And this is their album Nice. And again, I've talked about this before in the past, but I kind of find it funny. They kind of do a little parody of John and Yoko and their in-bed protest. I think it's kind of funny. But album cover aside, so again, I know of Puffy Ami Yumi because growing up, I knew they had a cartoon show that I remember watching when I was a kid. Of course, they sung the theme song to Teen Titans, another show I watched as a kid, but never really had any opportunity to check out their albums. And so I went with this one, and yeah, this is great. Has an early 2000s sort of kind of pop, maybe a bit of ska, not quite punk. I won't go that far, but has a very pop punky sort of thing, if that makes any sense, on certain songs. But yeah, you know, catchy songs. I like their vocals quite a bit. You know, songs like Planet Tokyo I think is great. Probably my favorite song on here is Sayonara. Has a pretty cool vibe on that one. Great guitar work on that. And a nice little keyboard kind of, I don't know if you call it beat or whatever, but I'd say check that out. So Sayonara by Puffy, or Puffy Ami Yumi, whatever you want to call them. K2G, pretty fun song, and this even includes the Teen Titans theme, which is kind of funny. Didn't expect that, but still, really cool. I definitely want to check out more Puffy in the future. And now we have some Kiss. Of course, rest in peace to Ace Frehley. We lost him earlier this year, not that long ago actually. But Kiss was definitely a band that got some love from me this year. And here we have their second album, Hotter Than Hell. I don't know, this could potentially be one of my favorite Kiss albums. You know, production-wise, it's not the greatest, I'll admit to that, but I think the songs themselves, I think, are still really good. You know, Got to Choose is a good kind of fun opening song. Parasite was a much heavier song. Going Blind I really like a lot. Title track's cool. All the Way, Watching You, Strange Ways. Again, it's just classic Kiss, basically. You know, this is still when they haven't quite hit the mainstream yet. But, you know, early Kiss just has a certain element that's very different from what most people think of Kiss. You know, people see Kiss as like a joke band, but they don't really ever go back and listen to the actual albums, is what I've noticed. But that's just me. I like Kiss a lot. I think they've definitely grown in stature for me. So, very happy to get more Kiss in the collection, and of course Hotter Than Hell is definitely an album I would recommend. Well, Thin Lizzy had to make an appearance, and we have a big one. We have Black Rose, a rock legend. Of course, the big notable thing is that you have Gary Moore on guitar. This is his only album, I think, he appeared with the band. And you know, it's Thin Lizzy, so of course, you know, I'm going to enjoy it. Again, I love their style. Phil Lynott, great vocals on here. You know, solid bass work too. But the guitar work on here from Gary, just absolutely incredible. Just absolutely great. And I think, I want to shout out, I know there's another guitarist. Let me see if they have him credited. Scott Gorham. Hopefully I said that right. He's the other guitar player. And him and Gary just really sound excellent together. And produced by Tony Visconti, which is pretty cool. But, you know, again, it's Thin Lizzy. I've talked about them many times. And so it's no shock they had to be on this list. So check it out. Okay, and now we have the first appearance of Gillan. And by Gillan, I'm talking about Ian Gillan of Deep Purple. Of course, by this point, he was not in Deep Purple, and he was in a kind of pretty much a solo band. And again, it's just called Gillan. And this album is called Glory Road, and definitely different from everything I've shown before, because of course, if you don't remember, earlier this year, I think it was during a CD haul, I unboxed this on camera. Yeah, it was this thing that came out earlier this year, actually. This is basically a box set with pretty much all the Gillan albums. You know, it has the first album all the way up to their last in 1982. So, yeah, thought that was kind of cool that they came out with this. And it gave me the excuse to check out of Ian Gillan kind of post Deep Purple. Because, you know, I'm a huge Ian Gillan fan. He's definitely up there as one of my favorite rock singers of all time. And yet, a lot of this stuff did not disappoint me at all. Like, pretty much none of these albums disappointed me, really. But, of course, this is the first one that's going to appear on this list. Yeah, Glory Road. And just a great hard rock album. Again, just everything you want from Ian Gillan. The guitar work from Bernie Torme. Again, really spectacular stuff. Again, heavy. You have the Ian Gillan vocals that we know and love. And definitely an album that's worth your time. So yeah, Glory Road, definitely huge thumbs up for me. And I will spoil it right here now. Not the last we'll see Gillan make an appearance on this list. All right, let's keep it going. And now we're back to some more obscure stuff. We have a band called Trapeze, and this is their album Medusa. Now, of course, if you're a Deep Purple fan, you know that this is the band Glenn Hughes was in before he would join the band, especially the Mark III lineup. And found it cool to finally found some more early Glenn Hughes on vocals. And this is kind of seen as one of the big albums from the band. And of course, you also have Dave Holland on drums, who would also later go on to join Judas Priest. Of course, most people don't like talking about him these days. And Mel Galley, who's another pretty well-known guitar player, fairly well-known guitar player. But again, you have another strong hard rock album. Then you have Glenn providing some more, kind of funky sort of thing, because I know Glenn loves the funk. He loves funk music quite a bit, so there's some songs that have a little bit of a little influence of that, but it's not really that big of a main focus. But yeah, if you love, again, early 70s hard rock, definitely go check it out, especially if you enjoy Glenn Hughes. If you have not checked out Trapeze yet, then what's wrong with you? But yeah, really strong stuff. And now we have some more Grand Funk Railroad, and I'm going to keep this one brief because everything I said about the last one I talked about earlier in this video, you could pretty much apply to here as well. But we have E Pluribus Funk from 1972, and shaped like a coin, and if you actually do get it on record, it is literally just a giant circle. I have seen it physically before. I didn't buy it, but it's kind of cool having it. It's probably a bitch to put it on the shelf, but still interesting, a little different. But yeah, again, it's Grand Funk Railroad. Again, it has everything I talked about before. Still the power trio, just more of what I like from the band. Foot Stop Music, People, Let's Stop the War. Again, still on that anti-war thing. Save the Land, No Lies, Loneliness. Yeah, again, I really dig Grand Funk Railroad. Definitely a band that I've definitely gained more respect this year. But yeah, there we go. Again, keep this one brief. Another band that has gone up in stature, and that is UFO. And of course, I have No Heavy Pettin'. This is from 76, I think. 76. I know my dates, I know my years. But yeah, UFO got into a big kick. I did a video on their early period earlier this year, and this was one of the albums I picked up along with the debut and the second album. But man, again, Michael Schenker, just him alone is worth admission because his guitar work is just absolutely spectacular, just heavy, great solos, and the rest of the band is just absolutely killing it as well. And yeah, again, not much else to say, but again, love this band. Definitely gonna keep listening to them. I definitely want to see how they sound post Michael Schenker, because I know the stuff with Michael Schenker is the cream of the crop. But maybe their later stuff is worth checking out too. So you can let me know that in the comments. But there, No Heavy Pettin', good one. Remember what I said, this is not the last time we'll see Gillan on this list. Now this one might be a surprise. So this is called Double Trouble. And, I don't really see people talk about this album as much, because the thing about Gillan, the two albums most people would associate is Glory Road and Mr. Universe. And then the other albums are still pretty solid, but don't really get as much praise. But I was pleasantly surprised with Double Trouble. I thought this was a really good album still pretty strong. Maybe the songs I feel were just a little bit catchier, at least for me. One of my favorite songs on here is Restless. It's a really good song. That's definitely a song to check out, I would say. But let me take out the disc so I can read out, see if this actually includes the other songs. No, it does not. So I'm just going by memory, but actually I could just look at the box set right here. So yeah, I'll Rip Your Spine Out. Again, Restless, like I said, Nightmare, Life Goes On, Born to Kill. Those are some other really good songs that are definitely worth your time. But yep, Gillan, yet again on the list. So let's keep it going. And we're back to some more progressive rock, and we have one of my favorites with Renaissance Novella. Ah man, Renaissance. Everyone knows how much I love Renaissance. Again, everything I've talked about them it's all here. You have Annie Haslam's vocals, the very lush production, some nice melodies, passages. It just all sounds so good together. 5 songs on here, and you know, the first song, Can You Hear Me, 13 minutes long, but man, is it a good opening song. You have the Sisters, Midas Man, The Captive Heart, and then it closes out with Touching Once, parentheses, It's So Hard to Keep. Oh man, you know, again, a little bias here because, you know, again, I love Renaissance, and yeah, definitely nice to get more of them in my collection, and it's nice that they made this list. So again, if you not heard Renaissance, check them out. Okay, a Christmas album has made it pretty high, number 12 to be specific. I don't know how that happened, but I'm not going to complain. But this is probably definitely one of my favorite Christmas albums. Of course, I talked about it recently with A Christmas Gift for You. So again, I'm going to keep this one brief because I did talk about this in my showcasing of all my Christmas album video. So go check that one out. I go a little bit more in depth on that video. But again, Phil Spector's production, great. All the performances are great. But definitely one to play during this time of year. So again, gonna keep moving.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you.
And now we have another one of these 2-in-1 Motown CDs, and that's the Supremes, and I'm talking about Where Did Our Love Go, which is this one right here. You know, Supremes, Diana Ross, you know, we all know them. Of course, this one had the big hit Baby Love on it, and then Where Did Our Love Go, which is another pretty big song. And you know, the rest of the album again has those great vocals from Diana and the other 2 members, which I sadly forgot their names. I apologize. But yeah, great melody, great pop hooks again, and just the vibe on it is just really good. Just that classic Motown sound that we all love about it. That's very familiar, but you just feel good. And yeah, I just have a little affinity for kind of girl groups like this. But yeah, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Where Did Our Love Go? Really enjoyable, lovely stuff. And here we are at the top 10. So hopefully you're still here with me. Of course, in the comments below, please let me know your thoughts on any of these albums I've shown. And of course, you can let me know what were your favorite discoveries this year. I look forward to reading those, but until then, let's keep it moving with the top 10. Okay, Nightwish has made an appearance, and this is called Imaginarium. And this is come from a different period of the band. You know, they had their first singer, but she left the band, and then they brought in another female singer. And I've seen some people say this is kind of not seen as highly from most fans of Nightwish, but I might disagree a little bit. I really enjoyed this album. Again, the playing on here, of course, it's a mixture of symphonic elements, but taking metal music too. And you have this very cinematic almost sort of approach to it. But then you have the vocals, which is really enjoyed the vocalist on this. Again, she has a more of a poppy she had a poppy background before she came into the band, but I still think she sounds really good here. Like she kind of fits pretty well. And you know, again, a lot of different production styles are here. Again, you have that keyboard, you have the symphony in here, adding a whole more dynamic to the mix. It's very cool stuff. I really recommend Nightwish. I don't have that many, but I definitely need to get more of the albums in my collection. If you're gonna check out a song, I would suggest probably the single on here, which is Storytime. That's the song I've always enjoyed a lot. But there you go, Nightwish, Imaginarium. And now we go back to Japan with Anthem, a killer heavy metal hard rock band. You know, some people might not like it because, oh my god, they're singing Japanese, I don't know what they're saying, oh, this is terrible, this song sucks because I can't understand what they're saying. Shut up. Shut up. This is absolutely Killer stuff. I mean, the guitar work, even the vocals, just the range on the vocalist is really cool. I love the gruffness of it at times too. Just absolutely thunderous. There's like no light spots whatsoever. It's just all out good old-fashioned heavy metal, and done by Japanese, who are masters at a lot of things. And yep, this is no exception. So thumbs up for me. What? 2 in a row? That's right. Anthem here yet again, this time with their debut album. So this one is kind of, this is after the debut, of course, but this is, I think it's 87, I think. This is 85, but really cool cover. Like, you know, it got the lightning strike on this rock here, I guess, or asteroid. I don't know what it is, but still badass. But yeah, everything I said about Bound to Break, yeah, it could apply here as well. Of course, this is slightly more raw. Like, it's not as polished as Bound to Break, but I don't know. I think I kind of like the rawness of this album just a bit more. But like I said, everything I said about the last thing I talked about, you can apply it here. And I think I can't remember. I know they had a singer change. I don't remember the exact timeline, but still, regardless, still cool heavy metal from Japan. And now we come back down a little bit. We have Alice Cooper yet again with another one of the solo albums, From the Inside. This is probably one of his more personal albums because a lot of this was influenced by the time he basically admitted himself in a mental or pretty much an insane asylum. And yeah, a lot of the songs reflect his time in there. And so a lot of the songs can be rather dark at times, but just hearing the more vulnerable side of Alice during this time, I think it really shines through. And I just like the production on here. Again, you have kind of different styles on here. You have some ballads, you have some more rock stuff, and even a little bit of a disco sort of flair on a couple songs, which surprisingly works fairly well, shockingly to me. But yeah, I mean, I think Alice does a really good job vocally, and there's a female singer in one of the tracks, and I think they have a nice little duet. But I'd say this is a pretty underrated album. I'm not sure, again, I don't know the exact where this ranks among Alice Cooper fans, but if this is like kind of seen as a not as popular one, I might be the minority, but I think this was a really stellar album. Don't let this creepy album cover weird you out, because I think you'll be surprised on what you could expect. But yeah, it is kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie. And now we're back with more Anthem with No Smoke Without Fire. Again, copy paste. Except I think this is definitely the best one that I've heard so far. Again, just absolutely killer, no filler on here, and I think they have a different singer on this one. And I think I don't know. I have to kind of really listen to find out which singer I like more. But I think the riffs on here are much more massive sounding, just absolutely thunderous, just kind of really charges through. And yeah, it's so far my favorite Anthem album so far. Again, I gotta check out more, but again, it's Japanese CDs, so of course it's gonna be harder to get them, especially this day and age. But regardless, Anthem, man, definitely worth checking out. And Thin Lizzy is here again, and for a live album, Live and Dangerous. So you have a lot of the big songs like Jailbreak, Emerald, Rosalie, Johnny the Fox, Cowboy Song, The Boys Are Back in Town, Don't Believe a Word, The Rocker. And you have Huey Lewis on a couple, on playing harmonica on a song, which is kind of interesting. Never in my dreams I would picture Huey Lewis and Thin Lizzy together. But any case, besides that, yeah, definitely one of the best live albums I've heard. Again, there might be bias because, again, I always talk about how much I love Thin Lizzy, and hearing them in a live setting, it just fits like a glove. Like, of course this would work for me. But again, I don't have a ton else to say about this one, but again, in terms of live albums, this is one I would definitely will go after because the playing on here is still fantastic, and they were just firing on all cylinders by this point. Excellent job. So this might be a first in Breyer's Music Showcase history. I don't know if I ever made this rule. I don't remember, honestly. I don't remember most of the rules I make on this channel. But I think normally I would not include soundtracks, but this might be the first I'm making an exception. Number 4, K-Pop Demon Hunter, the soundtrack. I know, and no, I still have not seen the movie. Again, I still don't have a Netflix subscription, but I just bought it because of just how popular it is, and I was just going in, just like, okay, just how good can this be? And yep, it is just as good as what people say. You know, there's probably going to be some people who are going to be like, oh my god, they're so overplayed now. Oh my god, they're not that good. Oh, whatever. This is my list. But yeah, I mean, I can't really say playing because, you know, it's modern production, so that goes, there's no actual playing on here. At least I don't think. Maybe a little bit, but the pop hooks, just absolutely spectacular. You know, songs like Takedown, both versions, because there's 2 versions and both are great. How It's Done, Soda Pop, Golden, which is, of course, was the big hit on here, which you hear a lot these days. Still excellent. Then you have Free, which is kind of like a more ballad sort of song, which I really enjoyed. And then What It Sounds Like, which I'm pretty sure is the climax of the movie, but again, still haven't seen it. But again, I said this before when I got this the first time, but even if you have not seen the movie, I still think these songs hold up extremely well on their own. And yeah, I really am I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So who knows? Could this be the beginning of a K-pop arc for me? We'll find out in 2026. But this is like a good starter, especially for someone who's a newbie. We got Gillen yet again. Of course, we got the big one, Mr. Universe. I say big one kind of loosely because I know it wasn't like a huge seller. Because the Gillen were kind of a more regional band. They were kind of a bit more popular in the UK than in the US. But still, anyway. But yeah, I'd say this is the best Gillen album out of this whole set. But that said, again, the whole discography from this band is really, really strong stuff. And this one is no exception. Again, all the things we said about all the other Gillen albums, this is where they really come to their own. The playing, the guitar work is stellar. Again, some of Ian's great vocals are here. And the rest of the band is definitely firing on all cylinders on here. You know, Second Sight, Secret of the Dance, the title track, Vengeance, I love, that's another great song. Fighting Man. Yeah, again, it's Gillen. I mean, if you are a Gillen fan, again, you gotta, if you can still get your hands on this, you gotta check this out. If not, then at least seek out this album. Then this is one you definitely must hear. But there you go, that's number 3. So what could be number 2? We'll find out now. Yep, UFO. We have Lights Out. Yeah, this, in terms of studio albums, this could potentially be my favorite. I actually do have it on record too. I'm not going to get it out because I'm too lazy right now. But yeah, this is just classic UFO. Again, Too Hot to Handle. Excellent opening song. Try Me, which is kind of more ballad, which is, I love, again, sucker for ballads. The title track, Getting Ready, Alone Again, and then you have the closing song, Love to Love. Man, that's definitely a top 5 UFO song. Just the riff by Michael is just so good. Oh man. So yeah, I'd say check out this album if you want to check out UFO. This or Obsession are worth checking out. But yeah, killer stuff. Okay, and now we are about to hit the... Okay, and now we are about to showcase the #1 album discovery of 2025. I know it's been another long one, but hopefully it's been worth it. But before we showcase the #1 spots, as always, let's showcase some honorable mentions.
Turn on your hot light. Minstrel in the gallery. Wake your reasons hollow. Cherry bomb donates love.
Okay, I'm sure some of my metal subscribers and some of my prog subscribers are really raising an eyebrow right now. But yeah, I can't deny it. People, I would say this is without a doubt the most played album I've heard this year. Like ever since I bought this, I have played this album nonstop. And I am shocked as well. Because again, it's, Cher, I mean, there's many different opinions on Cher. I know she is very much seen as a cultural icon, a national treasure, if you will. But there's some people who probably aren't that big into Cher. Some say she's not that good of a singer, or they're not into her music. But I don't know, man. This album right here, Heart of Stone, to me, I really adored this album. I loved her vocals on here. I think she sounded great. And again, this is like a more pop rock, arena rock style that she's doing in here, and she's doing it shockingly well. It's still pop at the end of the day, but still, like, she is just really doing a splendid job here on the production. Again, it's like late 80s, so it has that sheen, but I'm a sucker for that sound, so it doesn't bother me. And just the songs are just so good. Of course, you have the big hit, If I Could Turn Back Time, which is great. But then you have other great songs like Just Like Jesse James, You Wouldn't Know Love, which is a Michael Bolton song, and I love her version of it here. Heart of Stone's pretty good. Still in Love with You, great pop hook on that one. Love on the Rooftop, man, that's another great song. Emotional Fire, man, this like very rocking that song is. All Because of You has some great kind of nice little guitar kind of licks in there, which is really nice. Does Anybody Really Fall in Love Anymore, which is a Bon Jovi. I know that was written by John Bon Jovi, so it has a very Bon Jovi feel. Starting Over is great. Kiss to Kiss. And then you have a Peter Cetera duet with After All, which is a lovely duet and a lovely ballad. But there you go. At one point, I was really trying really hard not to make this #1, because again, it seems a very off-brand. But then again, at the end of the day, you're talking to the guy who also put a Japanese pop star as my #1 one year. So anything's possible. But yeah, that is my #1, Heart of Stone by Cher. Again, like I said, the most played album of all the CDs I've bought this year. And there you go. That is the top 50 best album discoveries I've made in 2025. Lot of stuff here. Overall, I think this year was another great success. So many great albums I've heard for the first time, and even with the duds, like I did last video, all the great stuff still overpowered all the negative stuff, and I'm very excited on what 2026 has in store for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it here, because again, it's a long video, but hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was worth the wait. And again, let me know what your discoveries were this year, which ones were your favorites, and maybe your worst, I don't know. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.